What's up, you guys? Emma here. In lieu of turning 3, and I'm so excited to be on my 4th year of podcasting, it's become vitally important to me to have a sense of what I stand for with this podcast. And I feel like my vision has not changed very much from the beginning. And even before the inception of this, I had some core values or core ideas that I really wanted this podcast to embody. And as I go, I want to be able to share those things with you. So as we grow together, we all stay on the same page about why this podcast was created to begin with, the inception of it, and my passion of why I wanted to create this podcast, and to always have a set of values that all of us are participating in a sense, as we're going through all of these testimonies with so much information, much of it being very new to us. So I have come up with 5 core values that I am starting as a non-exhaustive list of things that I want this show to stand for. And I really wanted to share those with you because the way that I look at it, with all of this new information, with so many different walks of life, with more people coming on, it's really easy as my show grows to lose sight of why I created it to begin with, and even though that's a reminder that I want to hold close, I also want this to be a reminder for all of you who take in this information as well and who are learning alongside me. So I'm going to go over these really quick. And I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening, because this is the whole reason why we're here. This is why I created this podcast. These are the values and the morals and the things that were of utter importance to me when I was beginning a podcast. I didn't want a podcast that was like everybody else. I didn't want a central theme necessarily, even, because I wanted to be able to create an array of things. I wanted to be able to use my imagination. That's the whole point. I wanted to explore ideas that are different from my own and have guests on that challenged me in every way with my own beliefs. And in a weird twist of fate, that's exactly what happened. Because when I first made this podcast, I wasn't thinking that I was going to interview survivors. I didn't really have a direction. I created it because it was something that I knew I eventually wanted to do. So I had created the imagination and just had it sitting dormant. And I was praying to God and saying, what do you want me to use this for? I know you wanted me to create it, but show me what I'm supposed to use this platform for. And he did. Months later, I started understanding what this calling was that I was beginning, and this journey and this new path that I would go down. And as I grow, even, I don't want to lose sight of why I created this to begin with. And I think it's good that we all rally around these different core values as we traverse down this path of learning together. And I wanted to share those with you real quick, what I've come up with. So number 1 is I wanted to create a safe space for survivors and for survivor disclosures. So by safe, I mean that when somebody is coming on the show to share the most vulnerable, horrific, awful, sad, and heartbreaking moments of their life, to me, a stranger for most of these people, and then knowing that this information is going to go to all of you, thousands of strangers all over the world, I want the guests to come on and feel safe, that the information that they're telling us is going to feel safe to them, because they know that the response on the other end is going to be nothing but love and support, that they know that when they record with me, that they're going to be met with love, that they know that they're safe with us, that this is the safe space that they can come and share a long form testimony because they weren't able to anywhere else. And what we can't lose sight of is that most survivors were never given a safe space to share. Many of them come on this show and this is their first time ever sharing their story with us. And that's going to get me a little bit emotional if I talk about it too much. But we have to understand what an honor that is, that they are choosing to share this information that they have repressed or didn't remember for so long, decades and decades in some cases, and that they're choosing to share with us because they feel safe enough to. That is a boundary and a line that I do not ever want to violate. I do not ever want somebody to say no because they think that they're going to be met with judgment and resistance from me or from you, or that they don't feel that they're going to be held in high esteem, that they're testimonies are going to be trampled all over and bullied, and that people are going to say negative things. I want this to be a space where they feel safe, that they know that they're protected, that they are going to share their testimony for the first time or the 100th time, and it's going to be met with open arms. That is my number one. That was always the goal. Even before I knew that I was going to be interviewing survivors, that was very, very close to my heart, that whatever I did with this podcast, that I would want vulnerability. I would want people to come on and be able to be emotional, that it wouldn't have to be this super polished podcast where every line is scripted, where every question is written in advance, where we sit very stoically and don't have authenticity in our true emotions and in our conversations. Most podcasts that I had listened to exemplified that opposing viewpoint than what I wanted. An aggressive host, a very domineering host who would talk above the guests, who would interrupt, somebody who was very prim, polished, and proper, who knew in advance every line that he was going to say, the very rehearsed type of podcast, and just a very inauthentic type of conversation. And to me, those types of conversations don't feel safe. They feel tense. They feel maybe stressful. They don't feel real. You know, even though there's good information, a lot of the podcasts, every podcast that I listened to before I start one had that type of format where there was a very strong indicator of who the leader was, and it's the podcast host. They were the ones that owned, and they were the ones that were the dominant one in the conversation, and the guest was the more submissive person that sort of, I don't want to say was ordered around, but was sort of, the conversation was driven by the host, not the guest. And I always wondered why that is. You know, you invite these amazing people on a podcast, and it's like you try to run the conversation as the host versus sitting back and saying, what can I learn from you? I'm going to sit back and learn from you. And so what I wanted this podcast to be, because again, full disclosure, I have no training with public speaking. I am not the most polished, perfect person. I will never be. I'm a flawed human. I make mistakes. I get stressed out. I get nervous. I get sad. I have emotions. And I wanted to be able to show up and be myself. I cannot be myself anywhere else in real life fully, except here. This is my safe space too, to be myself, to have conversations that I can't have anywhere else. And I wanted to share that with you. And I wanted the guests to be able to experience that with us. I want this to be a safe space for us all. Even in the chats that happen on Sunday night or Thursday night podcast premieres that I do on YouTube, the chat itself has turned into this beautiful community where tons of survivors come in every week, and they're able to share their issues. They're able to ask their questions. They're able to ask for prayers, and we're all sitting here uplifting each other. And it is so beautiful, you guys. That is what I dreamed of, regardless of what my show was about. And I'm so happy that it ended up being a topic where we can explore this fully in talking about really hard things instead of the perfect Instagram filtered conversations that exist out there. I wanted this to be a flawed space. I wanted this to be a safe space for us to be ourselves, for me to finally be able to be myself, to give somebody that I'm talking to the opportunity to be themselves fully, and to be able to step into that and to feel safe and to feel that they can live in that authenticity and speak from that place of authenticity. That was very, very important to me. And as we grow, I don't want you guys to lose sight of that either. And so far that hasn't happened. But as we grow again, I want to stay on that same page where that's what we're cultivating, where that's what we're known for, that survivors and advocates and listeners feel this sense of belonging here, that they feel a sense of high vibration, of love, of God, of divinity, that they feel safe. And so I want to give that to you, whether you're a guest on the show, whether you're listening, whether you're in the chat. I want that to be something that everybody feels, and that is very, very dominant instead of the host being dominant. I want those qualities. I want safety to be what dominates the conversation. So that is my number one. My number two that I came up with is, as we're taking in this information, whether it's me, even whether it's the guest speaking with me, and especially whether it's you, that we are listening to hear and not listening to respond. That's been something that's taken me a long time to learn. And you guys, again, full disclosure, I am not perfect at it. I still interrupt here and there. I still speak out of turn. I still think in my head whenever I'm listening to these conversations sometimes what I'm going to say. And I had written my Substack article, one of my Substack articles recently. And if you guys haven't subscribed to that, you should. I'm trying to pour my heart out there too, and to have a space where I can have an outlet to express myself in different ways. And it all ties into the podcast. So I have that link below. It's Emma Catherine on Substack. But I'm trying to create the same type of core values on that platform that I am here. And it's an extension. I've been very passionate about writing for my whole life, and it's just another way that I can express myself. It's my outlet. So anyways, listening to hear and not listening to respond. It's really, really easy whenever we're listening, whether it's in our personal life, whether it's listening to a podcast, to have judgments that come up, to have thoughts that come up that are dominating what we're listening to, instead of just sitting back and saying, I'm going to shut my thoughts off. If they come, I'm just going to let them go. If I have a problem, I'm going to give it to God. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to listen. I'm just going to listen and take in what is being told, that I am going to feel honored that somebody is sitting in front of me and sharing that shouldn't even be here today. You guys, a lot of these guests that I have on my show, and I would almost say all of them, shouldn't be alive today. And they've never told their testimony publicly, a lot of them. And even the ones that have it was a healing path for them to get there. Some of them, it took them decades before they could actually speak up in public or even think about coming on a podcast, right? And those people that do it earlier have still gone through a tremendous amount of deprogramming, a tremendous amount of becoming brave, a tremendous amount of understanding to be able to come out and speak. And all of them risk their safety to do it. Many of them, their lives are at risk when they speak out, and they are not safe doing it anywhere, not even here. Okay, that's what we have to understand, is that it's important for us to create safety, because whenever they come on, they are still risking their safety in the real world just by talking about it, no matter how safe we are. So creating that safe space also has to do with having the ability to listen, because when we are trying to think of a response, and when that is our response, is having dialogue back that might be judgmental, that might not be understanding, we miss the point, you guys. We miss the point. I never created this podcast to have one niche. Again, I called it the imagination because I wanted us to be able to use that together. I wanted us to be able to tap into all the different things and ideas and creations and movements and thought processes that we never have before. And I think all of you who have listened to this podcast can attest that you hear things that you don't hear anywhere else, that we're all challenged to use our imagination to try to put together the puzzle of what this world is that we live in, what this reality is, stripping down the manufactured reality that was created for us by a Luciferian kingdom that none of us were taught about, and re-engineering reality and constructing it to understand what it actually is. And we do that through survivors. Survivors become our avenue of using our imagination, and in being challenged in real life and taking that information and saying, what can I do with this information to have it be a net positive in the world, whether it's how I raise my children, if I have empathy for people that I meet, if I decide to be more vulnerable, if I decide to create something with that information, be it a podcast or a book or whatever, right? And so when we listen to respond, we miss that. We miss that crucial element of having an open mind and using our imagination. And what usually ends up happening when we choose to respond is it's negative. We come out with well, this person doesn't think how I do, and this person this, and this person that. And it becomes about us when we listen to respond instead of just taking it in and saying, oh my gosh, I don't even believe my belief systems are different from this person, but I'm hearing a testimony that somebody shouldn't be here is telling me. I mean, you guys, it's every episode is a miracle on here. The fact that we even think about responding takes away that magic and that incredible moment of being able to understand what a miracle it is that this person is in front of us and talking to us, that we're listening to information that we shouldn't be hearing from somebody who shouldn't be here, you know? And so when you get caught up in those moments of wanting to respond, I want you to think about what a miracle it is. Take that in and consider that it's a miracle, and let it take your breath away instead of letting it influence you to say something out of turn or to think about, sorry, you guys, stuff makes me very emotional. So take it back and just listen. If there's one thing that I can ask, and one big thing that I've learned that you can take with you just in your regular life, just listen. You know, you're not going to be perfect at it. I'm not. Even in my real life, I have to really like take that thought in and learn from it. But if we can do that together and practice that, we're going to get better at it. The more we practice doing something a different way, the better at it we get. And then we can see the big picture, right? When we think about responding, we get caught up on a detail. Oh, well, this doesn't align with me. This person believes different than me. This person isn't acting like a Christian. Whatever the complaint is, we make it about us and what we think. And then also we take away from what is being said, and we take away that ability to just use our imaginations and understand and have an open mind that this show isn't about a linear way of thinking, that it's about exploring new ideas. It's exploring different trains of thought. It's the exploration of the mind, literally. You guys, we're learning how our bodies and brains work on this show. Every single testimony, we're learning about all the things we haven't been taught about trauma and healing and disease and dysfunction and destabilization. Like, we're learning all of it. We're learning how to take back the power of owning our bodies again, and how they function, and the things that we weren't taught in school. So in so many ways, it's so miraculous that we get to listen to these testimonies. And again, it breaks my heart whenever I get comments from people that get hung up on a detail, and that's all that they leave in the comment is what they were wanting to respond with, instead of just listening and saying, this person isn't me. This person isn't me. And so why am I holding them to the standard where I have to respond and say something about me or make it about me when I should be marveling at them and what they're saying? So that sort of goes into my next point, which is that on this show, we allow all walks of life with no discrimination against political affiliations, religions, personal beliefs, or anything that has the power to divide us. Playing off the last point, we're all different. And if I were to only invite guests on this podcast that shared my same exact beliefs, do you know how many episodes would be missing from this amazing catalog that we've created together? I wouldn't have a single episode, because there's not a single person on my podcast that thinks and believes exactly the same as me. And there's not a single person on this podcast that thinks and believes all the same things about you. I didn't create this podcast to be a Christian platform or a conservative platform or any type of platform that has some type of segregation and separation. The imagination, if you separate that word, imagine nation, a nation, a community, diverse demographic of people that all come together around a cause, that we come together around the children, that we are here for the children, that nothing else matters, that nothing matters, whether it's what somebody believes politically, what their religious beliefs are. I want all of you to have your beliefs. And that is why I bring guests on the show, to expand that for you and to help you align with what aligns with you. And so my advice to you, again, after doing this for 3 years, I feel somewhat qualified to say some of the things that I've learned, and that is where some of these come from that I've created. But if I can ask you one thing, it's that you look at the person and know that they're going to be different from you, and that you accept that and say it's okay. Because the whole point of why you're here is to expand your mind so you can create your own beliefs and discard the rest. And that was going to be the advice that I gave you. Take in anything that aligns with you and sit with that. Take that in. Let it create a different belief system for you if it aligns that way. And whatever doesn't, you guys, whatever goes against what you believe or just doesn't align, or something that you just can't take in as your own, throw it away. Just throw it away. Throw it away and discard it. And keep what does, and keep collecting what does with every episode. Keep collecting the things that do. And who knows, maybe a year or two down the road, you could go back and listen to an episode that didn't align, and you might find some treasure in there that does. You might find a piece of coal that you can go back and look at, and it's now polished into a diamond the second time that you look at it. You know, we have to understand that the whole beauty of this show is that everybody on it is going to introduce us to new things, and that we have to be able to sit back again, listen, and make it about them and say, I know that not everything may align with me. I know that the person in front of me may say things that sound so foreign to me that I can't take in or believe at this time, or maybe ever, but that I am going to accept them without the judgment that they get in real life, without the unsafety that they experience everywhere else. That again, going back to number one, they know that they're safe, that they can tell you openly their political views. And it may go against yours, but that they're safe here to express that because it's who they are. And that we are here to try to understand what they went through because we're listening. And so then we can come to a conclusion that, well, I don't believe that, but I can see how A, B, C, D, E, and F in their life led them to be who they are, and to that led them to believe that belief that they have. And that it's okay if I don't believe in that. And that it's okay if they don't believe in what I do, because I'm going to discard that, and I'm going to take what aligns with me and add it to my own belief system in my own internal library of beliefs and thoughts and things to consider. That I'm going to use my imagination, and that I'm not going to discriminate against people that come on and have an opposing belief system. That I am going to listen and create a safe space for them to be exactly who they are, because they have not gotten to be who they are ever in their life. And that they're choosing to be who they are in front of us, that they're giving us that gift. It's a gift. It's a miracle. So again, if I were to only pick guests that align 100% with me, and I'm not any of you, so my beliefs, who I am, is different than you. So imagine that. If I did what some people do on this show, and again, it makes me so sad when I go through comments that I get on videos, and somebody just leaves a comment and says, for example, I can't think of anything exact off the top of my head, but let's just say, for example, this person's new age. Why are you having them on your show, Emma? This person's talking about new age stuff. Great. And they have to be like me? They have to be like you to have an important testimony? Really? That's what we're going to accept? We are going to stoop that low to where we only let people on the show that have a certain belief system that goes with us and against who they are? Do you know how much information we would be missing out on, you guys? Like, please consider that, because again, that is why I created this show. It's about testimonies. It's about safe survivor disclosure from anywhere in the world, all walks of life, that they are welcome here. and that they are going to be safe and listened to and heard, finally heard. So that brings me to my next one. See, these all really go together, and I'm saying the same message essentially, and we're building on it, and it's beautiful. So we are open-minded, compassionate, and curious. So this goes right with the other one, and it's adding on to that. So when we choose to be curious and we go into something, even you guys, even if there's an episode that even by the title, oh man, I don't agree with any, like this goes against everything that I stand for, that I believe, right? And if you choose to listen to that, let that be okay. Just be open-minded and go into it and say, I just want to understand how somebody gets to that point, right? Be curious. What happened to get that person to where they are? Gosh, that aligns so opposite with what I think. What happened in their life to make them have that belief, or to make them that way, or to cause them to be that way, right? When we have compassion and empathy for people, when we can walk a mile in their shoes, or at least try to, man, it opens up a whole different realm of thinking and of being. And it helps us open our minds to taking in new information. And that's what we should all be here for. It's so cool to learn different things. Conversations get really boring sometimes if all that we hear is the same exact thing that we think all the time, right? I know that it's also really special to find people that think so much alike with what you think, that it creates this instant rapport and connection. But there's a reason why opposites attract at the same time. That's a cliche, but we should be open-minded and curious about things that go against what we think, so we can understand them, right? Just like how all of us are against child abuse, all of us are against satanic ritual abuse and human trafficking, 100%. But we come on and listen to it and take in the information about it because we want to learn, because we're curious about this world that we live in, because we have questions that need answers. And so we're here to learn about stuff that we don't agree with, because we want to know how to make it better. We want to overcome it. We want to get to know the enemy. We want to get to know something different than us. And so we meet that with a curiosity and an open mind, and we have empathy, and giving the gift of empathy to a survivor, man, that's given them a miracle right back, you guys. Like, try to think about if you never had that, if you never had somebody that loved you. And maybe you are that person that never had that growing up. Maybe you are that person that didn't have empathy for what you went through, and you were never able to be yourself, and you were never loved in the way that you deserved. Try to think about, if that wasn't you, what that would be like to grow up like that. And then try to think about finally getting the courage to say something you've never been able to, and you're met with this resistance. You're met with people who all that they have to say about this monumental miracle that just happened, that you spoke your testimony publicly to strangers, that the only thing that they have to say is something negative. Try to imagine that. Try to walk a mile in somebody's shoes that way. We've really lost as a society empathy, and we have been trained so much to make things about us, to be combative, to be violent, to be mean, because we see it everywhere. It's a program, you guys, to do that, to combat somebody. It doesn't make us come together when we do that. Okay. One of the things that, for me, that I want to express to you guys, again, as a reminder, it is us against the enemy. It's not us against each other. It's not. We all are going to the same place. We all want the same things. Survivors, advocates, like, we're all going in the same direction. We want to eradicate this radical intelligent evil, as Nathan Reynolds says. Like, we want justice for survivors. We want survivors to be the new mainstream media and for their voices to be elevated. Okay. And when we forget who the enemy is, that's what we're here learning, and that's what these survivors are telling us. And it helps us internalize that the enemy is not the person that is on my podcast. The enemy is the people that they are talking about and sharing with us for maybe the first time. And that is who the enemy is. The enemy is the perpetrator, not the survivor. Okay, so have empathy, keep an open mind, and be curious going through this. Let your imagination go. You don't have to believe or take in everything as your own belief. But it's really fascinating when we can get to a point where we are okay listening to things that go against us and we're not triggered by that. That's a program too, you guys. So going into my next point, and this is my last one, I swear, for right now. I want to make this list a little bit longer, but this is what I've come up with so far. We have a zero tolerance for bullying or bullies. Comments that have bullying, people in the chat that come in and bully, your comments will be automatically and immediately deleted, and you will be blocked immediately, period. Point blank. Okay? Survivors have been bullied their whole life. Many of us have been bullied who aren't survivors in the same way as the guests on my show. And I am here against bullies, exposing them. And if I am tolerating them, then I'm not standing by the example of wanting to expose them and have a zero tolerance policy for them. There's a difference between, again, being open-minded and curious and asking a question where you genuinely don't understand and you want to learn, than attacking and bullying. And I know that difference. Oh, do I know that difference? And so do my guests. So anybody who comes on here, anybody, I will not stand for it. My foot is put down and the line in the sand is drawn. I will not tolerate it. These survivors have been bullied their whole life. They've hardly been told good things about themselves. They have to risk bullies in their real life after they come on the show. Again, even if nobody bullies them here on this podcast, that's what they get in real life for being who they are. Many of them can't be who they are in real life. So when we violate safety, which is my number one core value, you are gone, period. I don't care. I'm not tolerating it. I will not leave that up for somebody to see. I will not let a survivor come to my page and see that I tolerate that. And I will not let a bully know that they can get away with bullying my guests. That will not fly here. I will not give any bully any more power, ever. I will not let them come against anybody on my podcast and spew hate, negativity, or anything that puts down the person that is risking it all and found the courage within them to speak up on my podcast, period. And we will not rise in humanity as a society until we all decide that, until we all put our foot down, whether it's in real life, whenever we see it, to call it out, or whether it is on a podcast like mine. Zero tolerance. I will not tolerate bullies. I will not let anybody talk down to these amazing humans. I will not let anybody talk down to me. And so I would tread very lightly if I were you. And I'm not saying most of you, but if bullies are watching this right now and you're thinking about it, go ahead and try, because I will delete you real quick. I have a whole list over the last, I've been recording podcasts for 3 years. My first channel was deleted. This one's a little bit over a year and a half, I think, my new YouTube page that you're on right now. But I between my first YouTube page and this one, I have an extensive list of people that I have blocked. And I'm proud of that. That's a list that I'm proud of because I put my foot down. I drew a line in the sand, and I will always draw a line in the sand. I will stand by survivors. And if you on the other side can't do that, then you're not welcome here. There's plenty of other podcasts that you can watch. And for all of you who do uplift the guests, I cannot tell you how much it means to me. I cannot tell you how beautiful it is to go in the chat on Thursdays and on Sundays on our podcast premieres on YouTube and to see the amazing support that you guys give each other, and that people can come in and ask for prayers and they're given prayers, that survivors can come in the chat and share intimate and vulnerable details about themselves and ask questions that they can't ask in real life, and that they're met with that open-mindedness, that non-discrimination, that empathy, and that love, that unconditional love. It's so beautiful that you guys give that. Like, this community is so special. And that's another big reason why that's so big for me, that we don't tolerate bullies, because it's become such a place of unconditional love. And anybody that comes in the chat, I've been told by so many people that this community is special. And you guys go and hype the guests in the comments. Like, I barely have to delete negative comments, you know, and I feel strongly about saying it because I am against it. But luckily, 99% of you, if not higher, come on, and you exemplify all the other, you guys exemplify my core values of not tolerating bullying and being able to listen. You know, it's a very small percentage of people who violate these things, but the violations are so crucial and just so intolerable that I need to put my foot down and say it. But I also want to say that the majority of you are so supportive and so wonderful and so unconditionally loving. It melts my heart into the biggest puddle. It makes me feel so much joy. Like, I can't even tell you the high that I feel after a lot of these interviews have premiered, and then the next couple of days as the comments roll in. And I mean, they roll in after that, but just, oh my gosh, you guys are so special. You guys exemplify these. That's why it's so easy for me to be able to create these, in a sense, and like why I feel so proud of this project, because it does, like, from the very inception of it, when I had all of these ideas bursting out of me that I knew I needed to bring to my podcast, God has given me all of you who have helped me embody that and helped bring it to life. Like, you guys took what was in my imagination and it's real. It's in front of me right now. And it is the coolest thing for me to see that. It is so amazing for me to see something that was just an idea, that it's brought to life now because of all of you. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of you who just hype these survivors, who go buy their books and support them, and share their interviews, the other interviews that they've done, and comment these amazing things on the comment section of their interviews, who go and share it, who go on social media and hype them. You guys, it's so cool. I mean, I can't thank you enough. I could try my whole life and I wouldn't be able to find the words to thank you for that, because that is the biggest gift that you could give a survivor. One of the survivors that I featured recently emailed me, and one of the things that she said was, "Your community is wonderful. I was blown away by all the comments. I've never seen so much encouragement. Thank you." You know, and that's what I want. I want to give that to the person that comes on. I want them to feel so special. And you guys know how good it feels to make people feel special. A lot of you are survivors and don't take these things lightly when they're given to you, whether it's somebody that's listening or somebody that's meeting you with empathy, somebody that can make you feel safe. You know, I want to give that. I want to be known for that. I want you guys to be known for that. Like, this is really special what we've built together. And it was created from God and the ideas that he gave, and the ability to back it up with action to make it happen. And all of us have jumped on board and have just organically created these core values together without me even saying them. you guys do this. So thank you with all my heart. It has been an incredible 3 years with all of you. I'm so excited for this 4th year. I really appreciate you guys sticking through and listening to this. And hopefully it just serves as a reminder of why we're all here. Ultimately, this is why I started my podcast. But when I take the business perspective of it out and I think about who I want to be in real life, I want to embody these core values to my core. I want to live these, whether I'm podcasting or not. And I think that that's a beautiful thing for all of us to step back and evaluate about ourselves, is how we're showing up, how we make people feel, how we want to feel, how we want to be known in the world, and to be the leader that we never had, to be the parent that these survivors never had, to be the cheerleader that they never had, to be an empathetic, courageous, listening person who cares about standing by survivors and giving them the safety that they need to disclose their incredible, miraculous testimonies. So you guys, thank you so much for listening. As I add on to this list, I'll probably do another podcast eventually. But thank you guys so much for listening to what I've come up with so far. I love you guys with all my heart. Truly, I do. I love you all so much. You guys have become my family and my friends and my heart. And so many amazing things have come out of these last 3 years that I'll never be able to thank all of you for. So you guys, thank you so much with all of my heart. I love you all. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.